They choked, but let's not overreact, y'all. We still got a lot of basketball left to play in this Knicks Pacers series, but I mean, come on now. Game one lived up to the hype. Our New York Post sports columnist Mike Vaccaro is on because he was in attendance and he's here to break down what happened at the Garden last night. Mike, they couldn't get it done in regulation or overtime after being up. Did the Pacers they steal this one, or did the Knicks choke and give it away? Give us your game one takeaways, sir.
Well, as we learned from the last series against the Celtics, you really can't have one without the other, right? The Knicks couldn't have come back against the Celtics if the Celtics didn't have a little choke in them, and if the Knicks didn't have a little clutch in them to be able to take advantage of it. And that's what happened last night. Look, yeah, the Knicks gagged down the stretch, but the Pacers had to play an almost perfect 3.5 minutes to close the regulation in order to take advantage of it, and they did. And so it's a little bit of both. And I guess the one redeeming thing the Knicks can take away from it is it was only game one and there's time to get back into it. But man, it's going to show an awful lot about this team if they can come back on Friday and play without this weighing heavy on their mind. And I guess that's probably the difference between pro athletes and most of the rest of us is that they have a better ability to flush this than a lot of fans do. But it's going to take all their effort to do that, I think.
Yeah, pro athlete mentality. You got 24 hours, and when you play again on Friday in basketball, I would say what you got about 12. I think they shortened that, and I think a great takeaway the Knicks can have. I think they had one of their best offensive games in the playoffs. You mentioned that how they were able to win two games down 20 points on the road in Boston, but that was because they were able to play some great perimeter defense in the fourth quarter. We saw Aaron Nesmith just catch fire from behind the arc in clutch moments. When we talk about the defensive side of this series, what adjustments do you see Tibbs making for game two?
Well, in the same way, I think they had to adjust to when the Celtics started to hit their shots. Look, you just can't rest against this team. I mean, they were a fair to middling shooting performance for most of that game, and then they couldn't miss, and that's because I think the Knicks gave them too many, opportunities and a little too much room, and it cost them. Look, I mean, a team starts to feel it. Sometimes it takes you all the way to the end, and that's what happened there. It was a, it was a puzzling thing to watch because they were so intense and so, up in the Pacers' faces for most of the game, and yet when it mattered most, the Pacers were able to get those shots off. There were no miracle shots in the bunch. I mean, even the Halliburton shot at the end, yeah, the bounce after the carom off the rim was lucky, but it was a clean look, and they have to clean that up for sure.
In your article on the Post, which I encourage everyone to go check out after this interview, you wrote that in six prior times in team history where the Knicks have lost game one at the Garden in the best of seven series, they are 0-6 in those series. Karl-Anthony Towns said post game that it's their job to make history, not repeat history. Looking at this 2025 Knicks team, do you think that this year's team can break that streak?
Well, look, they have every element that would allow them to. I mean, obviously, they came back from a tough loss in game three against the Celtics, tough loss in game two against the Pistons. They're 4-0 in games following losses in the playoffs. That tells you a little something about them. And look, there's really no other alternative. If they go down 2-0 going back to Indianapolis, you can't feel good about them coming back from that hole. Basically, the season is going to, be contained to 48 minutes on Friday, and they need to win that game and then take their chances in Indiana from there. But everything we've seen about this team is that they seem to play at their best when their backs are against the wall and their toes are against the abyss. And I guess now we'll see if that's still the case.
I love how you mentioned that they can't go down 2-0 and head back to Indiana because only 7% of NBA teams have ever come back from down 2-0. Scale of 1 to 10, Mike, how much pressure does this Knicks squad have on them to win game two at the Garden?
Well, 10 to 10. I mean, there's no question they have to do it. Look, they won't be eliminated if they lose on Friday, but it'll sure feel like they were. Look, I think everybody thought this was going to be a long series. I said in the paper yesterday that I thought that both teams are going to win a game on the other's home floor. So this, I can't say that it surprises me that the Pacers won at the Garden. It surprises me how they won at the Garden. And but look, I mean, I've been around too many pro athletes, and again, like I said earlier, they're not like fans. Fans take this stuff to heart. I bet there were a lot more fans who lost sleep last night than the players did, which isn't to say they're indifferent to the outcome, just that they're professionals. This is what they do for a living. And they learn to compartmentalize disappointments. And the Knicks have shown an ability to do that. They certainly need to do that more than ever before between now and game two on Friday.
Yeah, the athletes don't overreact like New York sports media. So good for. I'm glad they've got some confidence about themselves. But game two on Friday is going to be a movie and another instant classic. So Mike, thanks for hopping on with us today.
Anytime, Brandon. Good talking to you.